Hello, learners! Welcome to our reading practice. In today's session, we're looking at an article on the environment. It focuses on the sustainability of future missions to the moon. The outline of this class is divided into 3 parts: a vocabulary practice at first, where we review 5 words related to the article and try to use them in sentences. The second is reading comprehension practice. In this part, we're going to practice our reading skills by reading out loud, or you may also practice your listening skills by listening carefully. And lastly, we're going to look at more discussion questions to answer, where we have a quick review of everything we read today. If you're ready to begin, let's move on to the first section. Pause the video to read the words, definitions, and example sentences out loud, or feel free to listen carefully and repeat after me. Blast is to strike, hit, or forcefully direct. For example, the rocket's engine blasts the ground with hot gas. Commercialize is to make money from something for financial gain. An example is, they will commercialize space by letting private companies build, own, and operate for science and research needs. Human footprint. The impact that humans have on the environment. In a sentence, we can say, space missions have left a human footprint on the moon. Particle. An amount, fragment, or portion. A tiny piece or very small bit. For example, particles of moon dust stuck to the astronaut's glove. Sustainable. Using methods that do not cause long-term harm to the environment. Able to be maintained. Finding sustainable ways to rely less on Earth's resources is important for space exploration. Before we continue, try using these terms in your own sentences. Feel free to comment down below so we can review them together. Or you can also check them yourself using online grammar checker tools such as Ginger Software or Grammarly. You'll see the links in the description box. It's not sponsored. I just find them very convenient and accessible to use. I hope you do as well. Let's move on to the next part. You may pause the video and read out loud by yourself. Or if you're focusing on listening skills and pronunciation, listen carefully and repeat afterwards. The method that we're using today is called chunking. This is where we divide the article into parts instead of reading it as a whole. We answer a few questions to check our comprehension, and then we move on to the next paragraph. By using it, we can absorb the information bit by bit, and we can develop our comprehension skills at a calmer pace. Will future missions to the moon be sustainable? There's a new space race to the moon, and this time, the goal is not just to visit, but to stay there. NASA's Artemis program wants to create a base on the moon in the 2030s. Other countries like China, India, and Japan, as well as a number of private companies, all have lunar mission programs of their own. As of now, the human footprint on the moon is small. However, this could change with more upcoming missions. And the idea of sustainability can mean many things in space exploration. Let's pause and check what we've just read. Answer these questions out loud or feel free to write them down. What is the main goal of lunar missions such as NASA's Artemis program? If you answer to not just visit, but also to stay and create long lasting human presence on the moon, that's right. We can see it here in the first paragraph. What do you think is the concern the writer is sharing about space exploration? We can see that the writer is sharing concerns regarding idea of sustainability in space exploration. Let's move on to the next part. The fragile lunar environment. Unlike Earth, the moon has no biodiversity, climate as we typically think of it, or oceans. But it still has its own special environment. While the moon appears to never change, it is surprisingly sensitive to human activity. Since there are no winds, water, or natural forces on the moon to reshape it, any changes made by people can last a long time, sometimes for thousands or even millions of years. When a rocket lands on the moon, its engines blast the surface with strong gases and send fine dust particles flying at high speed. A large spacecraft today, like SpaceX's Starship, could disturb an area of the moon's surface that is 2 to 5 times bigger than what happened during the Apollo missions in the 1960s and 1970s. Quick questions before we continue. How is the moon different from Earth? It says here that the moon has no biodiversity, it doesn't have a climate or ocean similar to Earth. Why do changes made by people last a long time on the moon? Because there are no winds, water, or natural forces that can reshape it. What happens when a rocket lands on the moon, and how can this impact it? The engines push out strong gases, and fine dust particles fly very fast. And modern spacecraft today can disturb the surface of the moon 2 to 5 times bigger than before. The concept of sustainability. On Earth, the concept of sustainability balances protecting the environment, maintaining economic well being, and caring for current society as well as future generations. But what does sustainability mean on the moon? We surveyed sustainability in space and lunar exploration, receiving 277 responses from academics, industry professionals, agency staff, and engaged public members. What does sustainability mean on Earth? On Earth, sustainability is about balancing the protection of environment, economic well-being, and caring for society and future generations. Who were the participants of the survey? They garnered 277 responses from academics, industry professionals, agency staff, and engaged public members. We found that people mean very different things when they talk about lunar sustainability, and those differences often track closely with who they are and where they work. People working in the space industry usually think about sustainability in financial and operational terms, keeping missions affordable, making infrastructure reusable, and developing the moon's resources to support a self sustaining economy. How do people working in the space industry define sustainability? Based on this part, they focus on financial and operational terms, affordable missions, reusable infrastructures, and development of moon's resources. Academics, on the other hand, connected lunar sustainability to environmental and ethical concerns more frequently. One in five of all respondents were against big human activities on the moon. Many of their answers showed the belief in a leave no trace approach. Don't disturb natural conditions, don't commercialize what belongs to all of humanity, and don't plant flags in places that shouldn't be owned. The majority of respondents were in the middle, calling for a careful balance of scientific, commercial, and environmental interests. Questions before we continue. Do academics have the same interpretations or definitions? Why or why not? Clearly, no. They don't because they relate sustainability to environmental and ethical concerns, following the belief of leave no trace approach. What about the other respondents? What do majority of the respondents say? Yes, they fell somewhere in between balancing scientific, commercial, and environmental interests. A continuing conversation. This difference of interpretations on what sustainability means on the moon is not a surprise. Even for the Earth, many people don't all agree on what sustainability is. However, the moon is significant to many cultures, and conversations between many groups of people are needed. The moon is the Earth's closest companion in space. As agencies and companies plan to visit it, the choices we make today will affect the moon's future and its importance for generations to come. Why is it crucial to have conversations about the moon's sustainability? Simply because it is significant to many cultures, and the choices that we make today will affect the future. Excellent work on completing the reading practice. I really hope you found the ideas and concepts presented in the text interesting or captivating. Now that we've reached the end of the reading part, let's now move forward to the discussion and review section. This will be an opportunity for us to share our thoughts, insights, and also to be curious to hear each other's opinion. I have 3 questions here for you. Feel free to answer out loud or again, write them down so we can read them together later on. What do you think of NASA's plan to build a base on the moon? An example answer is, I think it's a great idea for science and technology. A lunar base would enable unique experiments and advances in deep space exploration. However, the main downsides that I see are connected to environmental and safety risks for humans. There could be potential contamination, surface damage, and the effects of long-term stays on people. In your opinion, is it important to discuss lunar sustainability? Why or why not? Let me read an example answer. I believe that sustainability is vital because the choices we make regarding exploration and resource use can impact the lunar surface. It can also shape how future generations see the moon. Each decision may have irreversible consequences that we may not know yet. And last question is, which idea from the survey do you agree or disagree with, and why? I agree with the viewpoints expressed by the majority of the respondents. It is important to strike a balance between the scientific advancements and the environmental considerations of these activities. I think maintaining this will help us achieve our goals in space without compromising the health of our environment. We're now finished with everything. We've reached the conclusion of this lesson, and I really hope you found the class engaging. If you have any questions about the material today or any suggestions for upcoming lessons, the comment sections are always open. Please remember to take care and see you again in our next session. Have a great day. Goodbye.